Hi, I'm Sophie, and I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help with that. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
So, how have you been finding spooky season so far?
Not so spooky. It's been alright. Maybe I'm growing up, or
Maybe.
you've not picked that many scary.
Well, maybe we're going to change things around then with the last two of the...
Why? It's been fine. It's been fine the way it is.
It has, but that's...
I shouldn't have said anything. I should have said I've been absolutely papping my pants.
Well, the last one you kind of said you were a little bit spooked after the fact. But
Yeah, but
it left
not
an
like
impression, but not like...
bad nightmares.
Yeah, like, I'm terrified. So it's like thinking, okay, right, what, as you know, like what kind of things can I subject you to? And one of the ones that I think we did on a Patreon poll around October time was like 2 found footage films, and then we didn't get round to, obviously that didn't win, and this is the one we're going to do now, which is, as the title of the episode shows, it's Rec, or Record, with, you know, the REC dot from 2007, which is a found footage film, and it's also in Spanish.
Oh, great. Maybe I don't like found footages at all.
It's kind of
It's
akin to Blair Witch in a sense, but
great.
But you will see something rather than something come to your imagination of conjuring something up. So,
but then also we've got subtitles, and Spanish people talk really fast.
Yes, especially in intense situations like this film has.
So maybe I'll miss everything.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely petrified, or I'm too busy reading that I'm not going to be concentrating.
Comprehending. So it should be an interesting experiment, I suppose, for that.
I didn't get to study Spanish in school, so I'm not really up on it.
You'll also be happy to hear, though, that the runtime is only an hour and 18 minutes. So it's
nice.
Close-knit thing, but obviously that's because it's kind of just like there's so much going on with it.
You look so happy that you're like, oh, there's so much going on that I'm going to be absolutely petrified. I feel like you're actually buzzing at the fact that I'm going to be scared. It's not a very nice husbandly thing, is it?
I guess not, no. But
I just wanted to make you feel bad.
Okay. So, the brief synopsis that I'm going to read out goes as follows. A television reporter and a cameraman record the horrifying outbreak of a disease that turns humans into vicious cannibals.
Okay.
So not what you were expecting then for...
No, I thought it was going to be something spiritual.
Right. I think that's because you're thinking of
Paranormal Activity and
Blair Witch, yeah.
So I think of...
Yeah, you think of cameras capturing something on as ghostly.
Yeah, I guess.
You just assumption. So
I think I'm going to be alright. Don't know. If it's like a zombie film, then...
Essentially, yeah.
It's like an apocalypse.
In a way, yeah. You could say this see like a... Well, I'll let you determine it as we watch the film to see what you think, obviously your thoughts on what you make of the situation.
There's no Shaun of the Dead.
There's no comedy involved in this.
The only thing I was thinking when you said it, because it was like, oh, there's going to be like a disease.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect cannibalism to come out of your mouth, but I was straight away thinking COVID or like a zombie.
That's what I was alluding to just then. It's like, oh, see if you can make that correlation with it, I guess.
No, I don't really understand how you can have a disease that then decides you're going to want to eat humans.
Obviously, this was way before that was even a thing, so 2007. So
okay. I don't know how I'm feeling. Because you're getting a bit of a buzz off the fact that I'm going to be scared. I don't
know. You may not be scared. You might surprise me. But
sometimes I try and just be stubborn.
Yeah, it's true. Right, let's go and check out Rec.
It Ralph.
No, not that one. Sorry, it's not horror film.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
Turn your dial to find the frequency of the past.
Captain Midnight.
Where the classic stories of mysteries, sci-fi, thrillers, and suspense are found waiting to be heard once again.
Another case for Nick Carter, Master Detective.
You'll find a variety of those stories here, in their original form, where each episode takes you to another place or time.
The Man of Bronze, Doc Savage.
But only when you find the mystery frequency. Available everywhere.
The shadow knows.
And we're back to record our thoughts on record. What do you make of the swift runtime on this and all the intensity that kind of comes with it, I suppose?
The runtime's great.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of jump scares. I feel like there's a lot of stuff times when I'm like,
Startling.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a bit like not actually petrified, just it's taking you off guard, I think. Like, the actual thing with it kind of, I refer it to in my head like a zombie film.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can kind of compare it to. Just like this thing that's not human anymore running at you.
Yeah,
and wanting to eat you.
mindless, essentially, and just on a rampage to just attack. And
it just runs a lot faster than a zombie does. So it's like it...
Which for me, in terms of zombie films, I always see, when I think of zombie, like the typical base point of a zombie, it's like slow and sluggish and everything, and just like trudging along, kind of dragging heels, essentially. Whereas I'm not really a fan of things where they're like, like speedy, quick moving ones, because it's just like, that's, I don't know, that didn't seem quite realistic, other than the fact that they are just animalistic sense of just there to get you. But with this, it doesn't really bother me that much, because of the fact of like, well, they are essentially human, so it's like just a virus that's kind of just infected the mind, clouded the mind essentially, and made them that way.
Yeah, you say it like it's so normal, like, there's just this virus that clouded the minds. Just everyday normal stuff that you then completely block off an apartment flat, so no one can get in, no one can get out. It did remind me of coronavirus, like the extreme that when it was over in China, like they were dragging people out, they were like having the gas masks and face things.
Hazmat suit,
going in, and they were telling people off if they were coming out and when they shouldn't, and it was that like extreme level. And that kind of took me to that, seeing it on the news. Obviously we weren't as bad as that, like in the UK it wasn't as traumatic, I don't think. Don't get me wrong, people lost their lives, but it weren't like we were ostracised and you couldn't get out. I think for me the scary part about this is the unknown for them, that it's like they don't know why
about everything. Like the police and whoever else is involved is keeping it, please remain calm, somebody will be with you shortly, kind of thing. And it's like, kind of like, what's going on here? You're kind of in the thick of it with these people, and it's what's good is that this is all playing out in like real time, essentially. From
kind of, obviously the camera does get,
but in the grand scheme of things, it's all like playing out as if like throughout the runtime, it's essentially like you're there with them through the whole thing, and it's not like cutting away to like quieter moments, as it were, with like interviewing people in the apartment building.
I think it's intriguing. It's clever, the way of being shot. It's making you feel like you're kind of connecting with the presenting
TV presenter.
Presenter. And even the cameraman, like, even though you don't see him, you hear his voice, you are seeing through the cameraman.
You are essentially him, aren't you, really? So you're playing it first person view of him. That Pablo is his name, and he's playing himself. So I don't know if, like, in terms of like he's acting as himself, he's not like a Spanish actor,
right?
Playing it like he's been in movies and stuff. I think it's just as himself. It's listed as him.
Is he just actually the cameraman though? Like he is the cameraman, but speaking as himself?
I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas Angela, who's the reporter, TV presenter, is an actual real life TV presenter, but she goes by the name Manuela Velasco. So in sense, it's real in that sense as well. That obviously it's a different name, but she is known in Spain for being
A presenter.
A famous reporter. So, yeah. So
I think the thing is, with this, like, you can tell, obviously, now that you're saying that, like, the way she spoke, like, really fast and rapidly is like a news presenter or reporter, like, they're wanting to get the information as quick and snappy through to people. I think my only morally wrong thing with this is, and this is where I stem with, like, paparazzi, reporting, like, newspapers, photography, or anything like that, is that if somebody is vulnerable, something happens to somebody, when is it appropriate to stop?
I get what you mean, because normally with these kind of like found footage films, it's like, oh, why are you still holding the camera kind of thing? This doesn't make sense. Like, but in this, it completely makes sense because they're trying to document, like, oh, there's like a conspiracy going on here, and we've got to get this all like as evidence as like what's going on.
From how it ends, does it really matter?
Yeah, but for them, they don't know what's going to occur, do they? They're just assuming, like, okay, right, we are gonna get out of here, and this is what the found footage thing is, because obviously someone at the end of it all generally like, oh, like, what's this tape? What's the that's
but whoever's going to find it is just going to be the policemen and everybody that's outside that's boarded it up, and they're not going to want anyone else to know about it. So it's just actually, a waste of time, bless them for it. Like, I understand, like, at the moment they've got a purpose, it's made you film, it's got visuals, but really, like, the actual outcome of the recording is void. And I think sometimes she does pry on bits that she's not meant to. Like, there's some certain situations where it's like, oh, that's not comfortable there, really, you shouldn't be recording that now. But yet she's still wanting the cameras to keep rolling, and I think that's when Pablo is, I don't know, even though he's a cameraman, I think she more pushes it than he does. I think he's more respectful when he turns his camera off, and then she's the one always saying, put it back on.
Yeah.
She seems to want to get the story more than he does. I don't know if I'm...
No, I guess so. She's the front facing of it all, and she's wanting to push it, but he's just like the man, isn't he, really, for to be, just make sure you get everything, and because this is important for us to showcase what's going on here. But
did it scare me, as in, like, I had nightmares, I couldn't get to sleep? No, I was okay.
No.
I don't know. I think I'd kind of disconnect with it and think, well, it's not real, in a sense of, well, I'd like to think. Well,
yeah, we haven't.
Maybe I'm going to be completely wrong because coronavirus did come. Maybe next it is a zombie apocalypse, but I'd like to think that's not going to happen in my lifetime. Maybe
or anybody's.
If we have children and they're like, thanks, mummy, but it happened in mine, But it just, I think you can kind of have like that thing where you watch an alien film, and if you don't believe in that, then it's a lot easier to digest and not be scared.
Disassociate from that. Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't mean, though, that when it was dark and there was no lights and
then the camera comes, oh, what's the turn the camera? Okay, yeah, and then you just see something, because that's just general thing, isn't it? You're going to get startled by something that you're not expecting to be there, or something we're doing, like sudden movements and stuff, like creeping up, and then I think the claustrophobic nature of like being in those like apartment corridors and stuff doesn't help things as well, because you feel like, obviously, because you are in that first person view, and you feel a bit like, oh, cramped here, like, oh, I can't see past this person who's in front of me, kind of thing, and then it's like, oh, what, are they getting attacked? Oh my god, like, it's just it's disorientating, and it's like you're feeling the panic or stress of it from that, where I think this time again, because and certainly at the back end, I sort of knew what was coming, but I didn't know how you were going to be jumpy and stuff. So I think a bit like with the Blair Witch, where the experience watching it with you for the first time, and a bit apprehensive on how you're going to react. So I was kind of like bringing back that sort of like tension and fear, because I think it's more just because you might startle me if you like screamed out, if that makes sense, because it's right there and then, as opposed to actually what's things like, oh, I know it's coming.
And it's not as scary then if you know it's coming. Yeah,
especially at the amount of times I have seen the film as well. So, but going back to like the very first, I suppose, jump scare, which going through this, it was like, oh, it's so, I forgot how brisk this film goes. Like, it's like over just like that kind of thing for me. But I thought the part where one of the like firemen like falls from thing and just lands that first time initially, like oh, because like again, you're not expecting that to occur, just out of the blue type of thing. But I thought that happened a little bit later on in the film, not like almost like maybe 10, 15 minutes into it or something.
Yeah.
That it felt like.
And I think as well at that point it's still quite calm. We've only had that one scene with a woman.
Yeah.
And then we've locked her away, and we're not sure why there was. I can't remember the fireman being up there or not, if he had left up there or what had happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
And it were like we were just trying to recover the policeman being bit, and then he just falls from the top of the stairs, like, and that did actually make me jump. I did jump a lot. Did that make it more enjoyable that I was?
I suppose that's a good normal reaction, I suppose, from especially for a first time. I don't know if you'd see it again, you'd be like, yeah, I know what's coming now, but you probably, I feel like you're still like apprehensive, because again, it's just whenabouts is that gonna happen?
Yeah. I think the step one I might remember, because that was my first initial
yeah.
And then I think the rest of it I don't think I'd remember fully, especially at the back end, because
so there's a lot going.
It's just so dark as well. So you just don't know when it's gonna appear. I didn't scream, did I?
No, you didn't scream.
You were cute though, because you could see that a lot of jumps were happening, that you kind of came closer to me on the sofa, which I guess makes a good film. I just don't really like jump scares, but then I prefer it compared to the Blair Witch? I don't know if I did, but I think it was nice to actually physically see something. But the Blair Witch made you play with your mind a lot more. Like, it was scarier because
exactly.
my mind was more scared of what is it? What could it be?
Yeah.
And that's when you can overthink. Whereas already from the get-go, I knew this was like just a person by a disease.
You know what you're sort of dealing with, although you don't, because like, how strong are they now? Like the fact of I don't know if you might twig like think, the girl's sick. Oh, she's got a fever and stuff. The mother's like saying that. I don't know if you at any point thought before she turned essentially like, oh, is she like infected because of what was going on, or?
Only when like they did a real good close up and everybody was kind of questioning it, and I looked at her lips and such, and I was like, oh. But why did it take her so long to turn compared to like?
Well, they said about the guy explained that the guy came in the hazmat, so it was like, this depends on your blood type, how quick, which is a good way to cover it as opposed to like, like, are you just spaced, like just for plot conveniences?
Or is it an age thing? It could have been like
possibly, yeah. There's that as well. Just like how certain people might get more prone to being ill than other people are, essentially.
It's like ours still feels like it's lingering, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But technically, obviously, her dog was in the vet, and her dad was going out to pick the dog up.
Yeah, and get antibiotics for...
for her. So isn't he now... like, unless it's not like a cold, like you pass it on. But I thought it was by liquid.
By saliva, that's how.
So, if she sneezed on him...
Then
isn't he already out there, and the whole idea of masking this building off and shutting it down is obsolete?
You got to start somewhere there, I suppose. Because they don't know all the information on that, do they? They don't know that the father's gone out to get them. But yeah, it probably would have made sense to. Sorry if the wind's a bit blustery.
I think it's a backlash of a storm in America, isn't it? I think.
Apparently, a lot of this was loosely scripted anyway, so that makes it feel a bit more genuine as well. Like, that they're having it's not just like being told to say this and react to this in this way. It's kind of like just go with it, just how you would normally react in a situation like this to speak your mind, essentially. Like, I think so.
So, with that in mind, then, do they have the people who are going to turn have more of a script? Of who they're going to attack and who they're going to...
Oh, yeah, I would have said so, yeah.
And then, obviously, the other persons can interpret it how
like, what's going on kind of thing. And
what's happening or what you're doing.
Yeah. Because I say that about the fact of that there must be something about obviously, there's the accusations of the Chinese family being, they're kind of eating raw food and stuff, and
especially with the coronavirus thing as well. It was obviously this was before,
way before then. Yeah,
But it just, because obviously we know what happened, and it did sadly stem from China.
Yeah.
When they were saying it was a little bit like...
On reflection.
kind of hitting it on the nose a little. Which seems a bit strange, like... But then I do feel sorry for them that they always got blamed. But actually it wasn't them. So, where did the dog get it from?
Did he get it from a bat? I don't know. It's... That's not... No.
And it's like, well, the dog's dead. The girl
and
then
came
turns.
alive. And obviously, the dog licks your face and everything. That's saliva passed on that.
They did kill the dog though in the end. They put it to sleep. Yeah. So how do you kill them as well? Because I feel like that wasn't even really established. Like they did shoot one of them, but then she moved. Yeah, but where it's like the zombies, you normally have to aim for the head to. Right. You know, you do that, and then that's that. You got no brain functionality to be up and moving in the motor skills and everything. That's okay. Logically, that would be the way to do it, as opposed to you think you shoot them in the chest. Or, what good is that when just like anything, any person really. I mean, you could shoot someone in the chest, but they could survive. Well, yeah, it depends on where you've shot them. How if an artery or like an important vital organ that you've ruptured or anything. I feel like with this, it's in the end you just got a building full of these creatures basically by the end of it, and it's like, well, what do you do? Just burn the whole building? Is that like how are they going to deal with that after everyone's died? Like they don't know now. Like when they lose the copper, how do they know what's happening? No one's reporting back. No one's saying anything. So how do the people outside know what's happening inside? The inspector that's meant to analyze it all and tell him what's... Yeah, he's also... Yeah. He gets bit. Yeah. So it's like, well, anyone who's vitally useful is never going to come back out and provide that information now because everybody else is now a cannibal zombie. The one guy that did really gut me was the bald head fireman. Manu, I think he was called, yeah. I don't know, he just seemed to be the only one that were getting in, doing the do, calming people down, but at the same time protecting them, bashing them, wanting to get out and free them. He was like, screw what the police say. Yeah, yeah. Like, I'm going. I just felt like he was the most likeable character out of them all. So it was quite sad when it was like you had just the three of them left. Yeah. Angela, to be fair, I'd rather she'd got it. But like, she's the final girl, technically, isn't she? Although she's not really. Why? We just dragged. Yeah, but she's the final one. With Pablo, is the Pablo gets gone before her. Yeah. Yeah. So if you on the basis of that, she's the last one, but she's not the one who gets to survive. No. But she's the final one. Yeah. That gets knocked off, basically. What, obviously, like, on the back end, when they go up to, like, the penthouse, well, because I was like, well, there's nowhere else to run now, can't go down to the underground bit, so we have to go all the way up and, like, grab the keys, and you were like, why just, which one is it? And it's like, we'll just take them all. I just get annoyed when people are so stupid, like trying to figure out. It's like, well, you're not going to know until you get to the door. There's no point in going back and forth with each key. Just grab the whole keys and take them with you. Like, why are you being thick? It doesn't make sense. And then there's the rush, obviously, at that point. It's like, oh, which key is it? Oh, the tension built there, but to get through the... I don't feel too bad for me. I didn't think it took them that long to get through the door. I didn't feel... When they were inside the penthouse, this is the bit that confused me. Because it was like, obviously, there was loads of articles. There was like scientists, like vials and stuff like that, trying to figure out what the disease was. And it was like, well, how come this person who lived in the penthouse knew about all of this? Like, but nobody else was aware. Is he the issue and the dogs licked him? And that's how the girls got infected? Like, I'm trying to figure out how him upstairs in the penthouse affects the girl downstairs, and how he knew everything when it was all like in other areas of the world, and he was doing all his research. Like, how long's he been up there? Don't know. He says like he was never there really, so it's probably because he's obviously away trying to in Rome. But why hasn't he gone out? Why has he never ate anyone? Is that why he's so thin? Like, this is... Sorry? He's not like... He's a cannibal. Who's the cannibal? The man that lives in there, like that long-haired woman man thing. No, that's not the person who lives there. That's the girl that I saw on the articles about. She's the Why has he got her there then?
To contain her in the thing, because like for safety.
But what's the little boy?
Just another, I don't know, like...
Why did I interpret it that? Maybe I'm wrong. I interpreted the little boy was like an experiment, like they were testing on him.
Well, maybe there was, that's why there's
where
all
I
the
went.
vials.
Well, maybe he was trying to find an antidote for the girl.
Yeah.
But I assumed he was like a freakishly weird man that had lived and grown, his head just grown long and like your body would because your brain's still functioning, but he was really skinny because he wasn't being fed.
No.
Because he could get out of a door. He's not that stupid, is he?
Well, it didn't get out because obviously it's fumbling in the dark, isn't it? So
yeah.
So there is that thing, but I guess you can find a way around. But I don't know. It's obviously the idea of it just being keeping it locked away in, or keeping her locked away in the space while to try and figure out what's occurring with the situation.
But how has he not been at? Or has he been
Well, I don't know because you don't see him. So the idea behind it was they wanted to include the person who actually lived in there, but is this like final monster, let's call it, is kind of like put together last minute kind of thing. As like, okay, no, this would probably be more effective and be a bit more scary looking than rather than just like, oh, it's just a person who's just not having a virus or anything like that, or been affected or anything like that. He's just a person there to confront, and that wouldn't be as effective, you know. And he just bashed them in the head instead, as opposed to a monster that's.
I feel like I feel personally, I'd wanted a bit of both. I'd have wanted the confrontationalness between Angela and the guy.
Yeah.
Because I think she'd have asked all the questions I'd have wanted to know, and then if he was still storing that girl, then she could have still been. But
I don't know how that would work. It's like, oh look, behold my.
Let's say she just came out and then just attacked everybody. I don't know. I think you wouldn't get as many jump scares with it.
No,
you wouldn't.
No,
but I think it just left me a little bit like with, well, everyone's dead.
Mm-hmm.
But what was that thing? Like, I just felt like I didn't really. Well, obviously I didn't get it because I interpreted it completely wrong. But not that it's a bad thing.
So this final monster, the Medeiros girl, was played by a Spanish actor called Javier Botet, I think. So there's prosthetics on top of his already exaggerated features because he had a disease called Marfan syndrome, which is like a genetic disorder affecting like connecting tissue that caused him to grow like 6'6", so really gangly. So he's had really long arms and fingers, so that he could also contort as well. So that's give that more like it very much works for something like, you know, obviously like long and spindly like this.
Yeah, I think you know the new Alien we saw.
Yes. Yeah,
it kind of is like that.
That was also an actual person who was in prosthetics as well. Ugh. So there's people in the world who actually got these really people. Like really gigantic and long limbs and all that kind of stuff.
It seems really weird for me, but then maybe that's because I'm only 5'2". I'm not very tall and gangly. More like a Oompa Loompa.
See, I don't know, like on reflection of it, it's like whether that works or not, but I think in a sense of like, oh, giving the people something like to visually see as well as like, oh, okay, this is where it kind of stems from, really, and it being in like night vision, it all looks a bit creepy and everything like that.
And the dragging, I hate anyone being dragged.
And just the like wailing and kind of stuff, and it's just, it's not a real problem with it really, like how it sort of ends, because again, it's like, oh, right.
I kind of knew already, though.
Dragged away, and it's like, she's not getting out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew, to be fair, when they'd got in and the police started shutting them down, it was like, it's a no-brainer that everyone will probably die.
Yeah.
Which was fine, because I wasn't really attached to anybody, apart from the fireman. And I only was attached to him because he was the one that looked like he was doing the most.
Heavy lifting, essentially.
He literally was, and every time one came, he would bash them and he would do the right thing. Whereas Angela would just scream and cry, and I don't know, she seemed like a bit of a damsel in distress in some aspects. Like, she would try and help other people, and she would like close doors and stuff like that, but I don't think at the back end she seemed a little bit more like Pablo had to, like, don't leave my side, hold my hand, do this, do that, and he was the one who had to go first, and that was quite impactful when he was doing like that shot when he went upstairs by himself and she didn't go with him.
You mean in the attic space where it drops down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you first person literally.
And it's like, yeah, if it was me, I'd be like, no chance, mate. I ain't sticking my head up there.
You mean you'd be sending me? We'd just leave him up there.
Yeah, I'd be like, no, don't need to go up there. It's just opened by itself. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, whatever's opened it's going to come down, isn't it? So we might as well wait here. But no, I think I'm glad I've seen it. Would it be like every Halloween I want to put this on? Probably not. Not that I wouldn't rewatch it, but I think after the first value, it probably loses its impact because you're going to know when the jump scares are. Not that you can remember them all, but I think the first time is a special time to watch it. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the most impactful one to you.
It would have been interesting to see this in the theatre with people. Again, it's a bit like...
Did it even come over to the UK?
Oh yeah, I think it had a fairly wide release, I would have thought. There is a American remake, which I haven't bothered with, but more or less, I feel like it's going to be more or less the same, but just obviously with English language rather than thing. So like when I think back to when I saw Paranormal Activity in the cinema, and everybody, you get the tension from everybody else, like in that scenario, that would probably have been what like seeing this in the cinema would have been like.
So, probably, yeah.
One of those kind of films, I guess.
Why do you get so excited off people's scaredness? Like that, like seems to like
because that builds like a level of atmosphere, sort of more appreciation. The fact that a horror film's done its job essentially. I don't know. There's just adds a little bit extra to it. I
worry about you sometimes. I really do, because you can just sit there and you just like nothing like.
There were certain films like I think they're like Long Legs, and that wasn't like no one's going jumping at that or anything like that.
Imagine if I were there, I probably would.
Well, I don't think so.
I've become hardcore this Halloween, I feel.
So obviously, like final thing, I guess, like with it being a Spanish film, a Spanish horror film, did that lessen your impact on thing, or were you? Obviously, I know I said to you before we started, it's like, I don't think you really need to write any notes down because you won't be like, oh, I can't keep up here.
Which I'm grateful for. I think that helped. The subtitles, I thought, oh gosh, it's Spanish. It's going to be really hard. Like, I think I struggled really a lot when we watched Amelie with it being French.
Which is less intense.
Yeah. But I don't know if it's because with this one, not meaning this in a bad way, you could figure out as well what was happening on screen.
True.
Like,
yeah.
It wasn't like a...
You put the pieces together, whereas Amelie, you've no idea what's that's going to play out with that film, because again, it's a little quirky film. So
like, if I'd missed something, you can kind of understand, like, something's going to happen here, or there's nothing really vital that you could actually watch it without any volume.
And you like, not necessarily, you can just gauge from their reactions, like, what's happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you literally could.
Yeah.
Whereas like Amelie, like you're saying, you need to understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it can kind of lose it. Whereas with this, if I didn't read it all, but it didn't seem too bad, the Spanish. Initially at the beginning when she was doing the reporting, and like and she was like constantly saying something and trying to do a speed of like, with the firefighters.
Yeah, yeah. And
I think that was then when it was harder.
Mm-hmm.
But actually it wasn't really that relevant for me to be...
At that point,
yeah. And the dialogue then was really snappy at like the back end.
Well, yeah, because again, for the
urgency
rate of knots that you're going through the film.
Yeah. So it wasn't like a long sentence that you had to read. I just don't know. I feel like for me, when I have subtitles, the Japanese seem to do it great. Like, I don't know if it's because the words are so elongated compared to ours. Like a sentence that I'm reading for my read speed is like perfect. Whereas,
maybe.
Well, I think it is like their words just seem longer, like how they have to pronounce something.
But that's not to say the Japanese don't talk fast when they're in like excitable.
Oh no, but I mean, it's just their words are longer. So like compared to the sentence on the subtitle, it's shorter, and I could still have read that, and they're still talking.
Right.
I think is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Right.
Whereas with Spanish, you're like, and French, you're like, bloody hell. But no, it didn't suck it away, because I think it is one where you wouldn't need volume. You could still have the gore, you could still have the screams, and you could just be watching it like a fly on a wall kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And know what's going on.
Yeah.
So kind of works in its benefit in a way of that. It's like you don't need to have complete focused attention on it, and you could walk away for like a minute or so and then come back and still know what's happening.
Yeah. Unless somebody's died and you're like, oh, that's a shame, I missed that.
Oh, damn. What happened there?
Obviously, out of what we've watched, I think, so far,
mm-hmm.
I think The Omen is the most kind of freaky-ish, but it was like The Exorcist.
Mm.
The Haunting, I still think, is my favourite, and I would go back to. This one, I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
Mm.
It's like a bit of a...
But do you think what you're saying before, that the Blair Witch would be higher above than this one?
100%.
Right.
Because my own mind. Whereas this is, it's something that's human, it's a virus, it's going to attack you.
Mm-hmm.
You can try and self-defense. Whereas Blair Witch, I still don't fully properly know what it is.
What?
If that makes sense. It's not a witch that's just coming out at me, because that's what I think I expected the entire time and didn't get. Or like a spiritual woman.
I said before, probably, like the fact that there is I forget now if it is a follow-up of sorts, but with a more like modern, I can't remember how long ago it came out, but just called Blair Witch, and there was obviously more sensibilities of a modern spin on it, and obviously they had to have there's the witch kind of thing, and it looks a bit stupid. It's probably, if I remember correctly, it's not far off what this Madeira's girl with the long legs looks like, so something along those lines.
But all black?
No, I think pale and, that kind of thing with the lighting and all that.
Oh, right.
If I remember correctly, but yeah, it's a bit like, why'd you have to show the witch? Like, couldn't you just left it to interpretation?
I feel like that's like the woman in black. Like, you do get to see her somewhat, but I think it's just the way that you can make her up in your head, because you don't get to see her until like the really back end. And that's quite impactful. That I think, out of the films that we've watched recently for Halloween, I would say The Babadook, I don't know what it is. It's up there. And quite interestingly, I spoke to my sister's boyfriend about it, and he said that was quite scary. He agreed. And I was like, oh, maybe it's not just a me thing then. The Woman in Black and Blair Witch, I think they are like my...
scariest watches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe next one that we've got, I know we've got a guest.
Yeah.
But is it going to be on any on the lines of them? Because then you might get me really scared. Paul's like, I'm going to have to work harder next year. I
am, clearly.
No!
I think I was, like I say, when I was thinking of things to put on, I thought, should I really and go for things that genuinely scare me, or...
I think next year I want one that generally scares you.
Okay.
Not you. You, not me.
Yeah, okay. Because then it's like, okay, well, if it scares Paul, then it's got to be...
Yeah. You're allowed one.
One good scare.
One good scare. Yeah. Then that's it. You've been really nice this year, thank you. Or maybe I've just been really brave.
Well, see what the last one gives. But with that being said, I think we'll go to the scoring now.
It's tricky. It's tricky.
I like you always say that. It's tricky. You always say that's your catchphrase when it comes to scoring. It's just like, it's tricky.
Because, like, The Haunting I put at as an 8, and I really like The Haunting. Even though it did make me feel a bit like, ugh. I think that was the only one that's made me feel a bit, And did make me think, oh, well, I think it's because it's spirits. I think that's what it is. And, like, with The Omen, it's still like a demon, spiritual thing that you can't fully control. This one, just whack them over the head and you're all right.
Yeah, so, pretty much, yeah.
My scale dart of scaredness, it's weird because the actual thing that you're meant to be scared of is not that scary.
It's just the jump scares that kind of come with it, because it startles you, like, oh, running at me kind of thing, and that's the idea behind it. It's like, oh, in that first person view panic, you'd be like, oh God, what do I do, kind of thing.
Kick him.
Yeah, and you just it just takes you back really.
But I feel like The Haunting was just more beautiful. Like the camera work, obviously, you can't really compliment it that
And this
much.
one, no,
because
it's that's the point of it, isn't it? It's like all shaky
it's a
and
mess.
like and thing. Like there'd be no point in this being 4K because like that doesn't it's supposed to be like the raw footage, isn't it? Like of it. Whereas,
That's really tickled me. No point. Oh well, that backs it down then, Paul. If there's no point in it being a 4K, like Jesus.
I'm just saying in terms of like
Well,
there's
yeah.
certain things where it's got to look a certain way, and if it's you upgrade it to like, well, that's not real, like with something like with it's recorded with a VHS camcorder type of thing or something. You don't want it in 4K.
True. I think storyline is kind of, sorry guys, it's just one of those where it's more like you kind of know what's coming.
Yeah.
It's not in a bad way, and it is intriguing, and the jump scares are good, but I think it's just you're aware of what's happening. Whereas the haunting, you are sat more questioning, you're more analysing, and I think I prefer that. I prefer, even though at the end I got a bit confused with this one. I knew everyone were going to die and no one was going to survive, like from the get-go. But is it rubbish? No. Is it anything like Shaun of the Dead? No. Which one would I prefer out of the two? Shaun of the Dead. So I think, I don't know what's harsh. Because it's not crap, but it's not like, it's like, is it 1 point less than The Haunting? Or should it be like a 6.5?
That's down to you. On your experience with it and all that. Like, was it, how scary was it? How did it make you feel? Did you appreciate what it did with the found footage element, with the reality TV style kind of?
I think I'm going to give it a 7, just because it did give me a lot of jumps. But I think it's one of those that it's not like a high 7. Like it's never going to go past that.
Teetering on. Maybe is it more 6.5 than it is 7, or it's like just ever so slightly?
It's ever so slightly going to go to the 7 just because of the jumps.
Okay.
Because it did scare me and took me off guard.
Yeah.
But would it be one like I'd want to we'll put that back on?
Right.
Probably not.
Okay, that's fair. So for me, in a similar way, I guess, it's like, should I go with the score that I initially got it marked down on Letterboxd, or has it kind of lessened with?
Ooh, interesting.
Going with, I haven't seen it multiple times now, and going, is it still impactful? Does it still work? I think I'm going to mark it down ever so slightly.
Okay.
But not by a big margin. Initially, what I've gone on Letterboxd is 8, but I'm going to put it down to 7.5.
Ooh, I wasn't too harsh.
No, you won't know. Because, don't get me wrong. That this is a very good example of like a found footage film for the time. Obviously, like reaching a mass audience, and in a way of let's do a American remake off the back of it, because then might reach even wider audience than just people don't want to read subtitles and everything. But I can't comment on that because, as I say, I don't know if the performances will just come across a bit hokey or whatever. Because there was such a great thing that they had from the get go, and then it's like, well, I don't know if that would hold up as much. Probably wouldn't. But there is a follow up which kind of says, the Blu-ray here, that it's been just 15 minutes after authorities lost contact with the people locked in the building. So I think it's, if I remember correctly, it's kind of like it's almost like takes place immediately after what's occurring, or I can't remember, if it's like from a different perspective. I can't remember exactly, but I don't think it's too bad like as a follow up.
Is it more people going into the same building?
I think so. Right. Yeah. It's either that. It's either occurring at the same time, like in a different situation, or from someone's perspective, or it's like on the aftermath of what's just just happened, and then they're kind of like seeing what's occurring, going in experience, like, oh my god, like what's happened here, kind of thing. I can't remember, but
okay, I would definitely give that a watch then, if you're recommending it.
Yeah, I've got it there. So it's like, that. But yeah, no, it's still a good time. I'm kind of glad we've covered it. Really, and I say at least you got something out of it, really, as opposed to that was rubbish or like.
Yeah, I think actually, to be fair, this year's not been too bad. you've done well. I do think, though, that now, I don't know how you feel, but I'm just realising I've just got one more to do.
I know. Well, hope you've enjoyed our thoughts on this. And if you want to check out some of our other episodes, then you can do so by going over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And we'd also appreciate any 5-star reviews over on those platforms as well. Be very much appreciated.
And if you haven't already and you want to follow us on social media for more spooky season stuff, then Paul is doing like a 31-day spooky season. So go find him on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Threads. We're under the handle SP_filmviewers.
Of course, we'd also like to thank the patrons for their continuing support on the show. And if you would like your names read out every single episode, as we're going to do in a moment, and have the opportunity to vote for a movie we watch once a month, then all you need to do is go to patreon.com/spfilmviewers.
And it only costs $1.50 or £1 a month.
So we've got our podcast friends who are Mark from 100 Things We Learned from Film, Nico from The Good, The Bad, The Weird podcast, and Ben from Ben Pushpull Health, formerly Film Vloggers.
And then we'll go on to family and friends. So we've got Gren, who's on Instagram under the handle cgren_draw. We've also got Jonesy and M, both on Instagram under the handle Weight Loss Jonesy and M_Hayton.
Also got your mum. We've got Alex, who is at Desperately Seeking Username, and Shani, who is at SDOG on Instagram.
So big thank you to them. Thank you for the pick as well on the Patreon. Pick, really enjoyed that one the best, so good shout to them.
Mm-hmm.
And
good shout to me for picking it out.
Don't get big-headed. So that's a wrap for this one then.
Indeed.
Only one more to go.
One more with a special guest as well. So. Should be interesting. If nothing else.
Oh.
But I don't think, to be fair, based on what we've covered with this one and other horror movies of recent, I think you'll be fine. But who's to say?
We'll just have to see, won't we?
Yeah.
You might really get me, or it'll be a year of you're like, damn it, I've missed the mark.
Yeah.
And then I prep myself for next year because...
Yeah. Bring in the thunder, yeah.
Yeah.
Bring it into full force next time.
Well, I've got another 360 days until I have to worry about that.
So, thank you very much for listening once again, and we'll speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.